Welcome to the coziest corner of the creative world, Ramblings from the Little Shed, where art, literature, and our beloved animal companions come together in conversation. Join Rogan and I in a space where ideas flow freely and creativity thrives as we explore the profound ways animals influence and inspire our creative lives. Grab your cup of coffee, maybe it's tea, maybe it's water. Tonight's guest is Anne Smith Nachasa. Anne grew up in a farmhouse in rural Nova Scotia, Canada, a place of laughter, hard work, and the occasional unexplainable sound in the night. She is of diverse ancestry, with a background including priests, preachers, and privateers. She was a strawberry picker, waitress, nursing home worker, oven insulator, and many other things before turning to teaching. Her fondest memories are of teaching in northern and isolated Indigenous communities, where there was such joy and partnership on the learning journey. Anne resides in rural Nova Scotia these days with her ultimate last dog, Shay. Dogs have an instrumental role in all her writings and are inspired by the dogs she has known. Hi, everyone. Welcome to Ramblings from the Little Shed. I'm your host, Holly B., and Rogan is here with me as well. Good evening, Rogan.
Good evening, Holly.
Very formal this evening.
Very formal.
Yes. And our guest tonight, all the way from the East Coast,
Woo!
Canada,
Yeah.
Anne Nakasak.
It's Nakasak.
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 I almost got it right.
It's impossible to say it.
Oh, gosh, I'm
It's
sorry,
okay.
Anne.
No, don't worry. Even
And
I can't say it right either.
And I even missed the middle name. I was so stressed out. And Smith Nakasak.
Nakasak. Just saying knock.
Yes.
Okay.
Welcome. Sorry.
Thank you.
How are you?
We are doing quite well. We're all swapping snow stories, of course, being Maritimers, like our snow experience was worse than yours. But
Sounds like it. Yes.
yes.
I do not envy you.
We
that.
always have to have each of us lays claim to the most horrific snowstorm story. So
You're right. It's almost like a badge of honor. When I walked in this
Yeah.
morning to my computer for work, I had two individuals right away. So are you getting all kinds of snow too? And one was from Ottawa, one was from another city. And I was laughing because it's like, no, we got our snow. We saved it all for you, but it's like a badge of honor. Do you have a worse storm than we do?
yeah.
But I feel like, yeah, you really do get,
Well, it's just that among ourselves, it's, like
Yeah.
even the neighbors down the hill, like, we would be brokenhearted if we discovered that, well, they had a worse storm experience than we had. Like, what do you mean your power only went out for a day? Ours went out for a day and a no. It's always good.
Mine went out for 2 days. No.
Yeah.
We're
Mine
okay
went
down
out
here.
for 2 days and 5 minutes.
Oh,
I've suffered
it.
more.
You win. But
Yes.
it's, I mean, we wouldn't be true Canadians if we didn't talk about the weather. So now that we got that out of the way, let's move on to the good stuff.
Okay.
And you have some wonderful pets. There are a dog and 2 cats. Would you please tell us about them? And we heard them scurrying about there a few minutes ago.
Well, you'll hear that a lot, I'm afraid. And the churring and warbling, that is Marlowe. Shay came to us as a Christmas present 9 years ago. We found her and her siblings in a backyard with their mother, and they had just been born. It was -26, and the owners were a 6-hour drive away at a craft fair, not knowing the dog was pregnant and having left it in the care of somebody else, a family member.
Mm-hmm.
And when I texted and said, "We've discovered puppies in your backyard," they were like, "What? You sure?" Yes. And she begged me to take them home because she was crying because she was trying to get back and nobody would. She said, "Nobody will help me. Will you please take the mother and pups?" I said, "Well, if I move them, they're going to probably die at this temperature." It was dropping. It was -30 by the time we got them home. And she said, "They're going to die for sure out there tonight, even in the doghouse." But so I took everybody home, and I had a husky who was also a female, and usually 2 mother dogs don't get along, and they didn't. But we just, barricaded Chen and the pups in the back room and looked after them for a couple of days and until their owners managed to get back. And their only delay was they stopped at the house to set a a big fire in the wood stove so that they have it nice and toasty warm for the pups. And 4 weeks later, they invited me over to see how the pups had grown, and the pups were tumbling on the floor, and they asked if I would like Shay. And so her name is actually Mako Shay Kishiko. I'm saying it with apologies to my Algecree speaking friends. It means Christmas or Merry Christmas. So Shay is what we call her because it translates to the time of feasting and celebration. So that sums up Shay completely. It was December the 16th, and there we are.
Wow.
So Shay has been with us 9 years. She was raised by Mikak, who was my she was my spiritual guide in every way. And when Mikak passed, she had cancer, passed away at the age of 12, and a border collie, Flo, came into our lives, and she was an absolutely magnificent wonder. 2 years later, she died with a degenerative myelopathy condition that was very fast-moving, and she underwent. It was pretty horrific and sudden, and then we weren't ready for another dog at that time, but Shay seemed lonely, and so we got Christopher Marlowe, or Kit Marlowe, as we call him. And it was like Shay had waited all her life for a cat. Like, oh, you got me a cat. Isn't this great? And Marlowe would not come out, but it was a different relationship. She was very devoted to Mikak, and she kind of tolerated Flo, but she would lie in front of this place wherever Marlowe had disappeared to get away from her. She would lie there by the hour with a toy or a ball between her paws, just waiting patiently. And eventually he started coming out, and now they tumble together, touch noses. The cat will lash out and whack Shay in the face, and they're just good friends, And then we decided to get Mireille because she looks so like she'd be
Good
a
fit.
good fit with our family, and that was she had medical conditions, so they were being very careful at the shelter who they placed her with, and since we had a reputation for taking on overweight, limping animals, they figured, one more medical condition. And she's been an absolute delight. As you can see, she and Marlowe get along
Wonderfully.
They get along. That's how they play, They
Yeah.
fight over the tent that is on the floor, and Shay will just lie there, just like
Soaking it
this
in.
look of sweet joy on her face, like, aren't my cats brilliant? So our doghouse, we at one time had 3 adult dogs, 6 pups, and a cat, and was looking after my mom, who was in palliative care at home.
Right. Okay.
And so we're more of a dog type. Cats are very different.
Indeed.
But we enjoy it very much.
Yeah.
We enjoy the whole experience. I think Shay enjoys it most of all. Like, she loves watching her cat. She loves feeding time. And
So your other cat's name is very French. Mireille.
Mireille, yes, because she was sort of a miracle. Like, she had been surviving on the streets for 2 years, and strangely or not strangely, she looks out at the snow with a little smile on her face, like, I don't have to go out there anymore. Like, people said she'll want to be an outdoor cat. No, Mireille. She prefers to be a house cat. It's like
nice and toasty.
yes, she sort of served her time in that particular experience.
Well, it sounds like they have a lovely home to live out their lives.
They have, I'm enjoying having them. Like, it used to be that Mikak my husky would lie there when I was writing. She would lie, so I'd look over my shoulder and she'd be lying on the bed, like, listening to every word. And I would read passages out loud to her. And actually, when I'm editing, I'll often read the entire thing out loud. And some people find it strange that I'd be reading to the dog, but the dog would be lying there like, okay, if that's the best you can do, I guess we can send it to the publisher. But
waiting for those key words like walk and treat and
no, not necessarily, because there is one passage that she's probably heard like maybe 30 times because it was edited so much. The day before she died, she was in pain. She was lying under the house, and I went out to sit with her, and I thought, I'm going to read parts. It's the last time I'll get to read to her from Canoe World Shorelines. And I picked up the book, and I opened to that passage, and I began to read. She crawled out and sat in front of me with the happiest expression, like, that's our story. She knew it. She's not looking for keywords. Huskies have a unique, and so do Border Collies, actually, unique skill that way of understanding detailed language. And she just sat there, like, absorbed, like, yeah, like, that's the one we wrote together.
Mhm.
And I read the whole thing, not the whole book, but that whole passage with her. And it was quite moving for me
Gosh,
because
I am
it
absolutely moved right
wasn't
now.
that she's just listening for
Mhm.
keywords. She's
Mhm.
listening to the story.
Mhm.
And yeah, that's because I've lived out in the woods by myself too long and I
Mhm.
talk to the animals now, but I
Nothing
do
wrong with
actually
that.
feel that.
Yeah.
They do.
That that was very moving. I can picture Mikak in front of you
Well, she did.
listening.
She was like that. She was, then she took me for a walk early the next morning and all the way down to this place we used to call our Sunset Trail. And she lay down there and she just lay for the longest time looking down over it. And Shay just sort of sat behind her, like respectfully. And I stood beside her and we just all stood there and looked down the Sunset Trail because we'd had so many times there. And I said, "Are you ready to see Dr. Alyssa now?" And she stood and turned and started back up the hill like, "Okay, I've said my goodbye. I want you to remember this. This is all that I am, and this is all that we are. And this is what you remember." She had that gift, and she was a gift.
Hmm. Yeah, it sure sounds like it.
Mm. And Shay is different. She has sort of an innocence, like Mikak had been a street survivor too, and Flo had been abused very badly. When by the time we got her at the age of 5, and she was an extremely damaged dog. You had to really work around her damage, and but she was so gifted with love, and she was the one that when I was writing, I usually go up I would say, "Okay, computer," and we go up around 1 o'clock, and that would be writing time, and if I didn't, you'd see her, typical border collie, at the foot of the stairs, "Woof, woof, 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 woof," just back and forth, muttering to herself, "You're not going. Go, 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 go. Up, up." And when I say, "Okay, computer, zoom," up she go and lie smack right beside the desk, start writing. And she was like that. River Faces North, my 3rd book was going into that was sort of her book. It was going into production. It just went into layout. We got it while I was waiting in the waiting room the night she died. Um, I saw a message come up, and it was from Friesen Press saying that my book was now in layout. And I told her, and she wagged her tail. All the pain, all the suffering she was going through. And it was, yeah, something we did. So are the dogs tied to my writing experience? Yes. Shay in a different way because she is woven into she's present in a
Yeah.
different way. She always lies downstairs. She watches the road while I'm up here doing my crazy thing and talking to the animals and things. That Shay is sort of embarrassed that she talks to dogs. No, but and, but she responds in a different way, but she's almost like a research partner. Like we go out, the series I'm doing now, it's dystopian, and there's this communal farm where the grandmother and the granddaughter are basically indentured slaves working for the elect there. And we walk around there and somebody said in a picture, it's like she's looking at something. I bet she sees something that we don't. I said, well, she's basically looking. We were talking about where the greenhouses would be, where the children worked, and they would be there because it would be more sheltered. And and I was talking to her about that, and she's looking at it, like.
Mhm.
But she's kind of like for that book. There's a lot of clambering through the woods involved. And Shay loves that research, Oh, take me on the most miserable back trail there is. Oh, you wrenched your knee. Too bad. I'm having fun. You and but she's kind of my research partner in that way because I have more of a kinesthetic research approach than
Okay. Yeah.
an
Yeah.
academic one.
Okay.
Yeah. But Shay is always part of that, and she's really I can't describe it. She's not in the way that Mikak or Shay or Flo had a knowledge of the world, that Shay is essentially an innocent.
Hmm.
Like when she hears coyotes howling, well, now she knows to bark, to warn me, or to push me away because Mikak trained her, but otherwise, she'd be bouncing off to play with them.
Right. Exactly.
She
Yeah.
doesn't have that.
The sense of what to do or
Well, she doesn't have that intuitive grasp of
right.
the world that Mikak and Flo had.
Now
She
Shay is 9, you said?
Shay is 9,
Okay.
and she's downstairs now, wondering why I'm talking to the computer and but she will come up when she feels it's time for me to be done working, or if it's time for me to go out,
Mhm.
she'll come and get me.
Okay.
Like, "Excuse me, it's 4:30. You have to take a break because we have to go walking before the coyote pack comes out,"
Mm.
Yes,
And,
that's right.
we do.
So she keeps you on a routine, a strict routine,
She
and makes
does her
sure that you
best.
get your breaks.
She does. She
Yeah.
tries.
Gosh, and I'm trying not to cry anymore, but
"Oh, I'm sorry. You're
Yeah,
no,
supposed to."
no, it's
I don't
your
wanna make
story is
people cry.
very moving, and
Well, they're part of the journey,
it
and
they are, but it's the way that you describe them
oh,
is
well,
very heartfelt. Not that anyone else isn't either, but there's just something in the way that you say it.
I think when I'm writing about animals in, like, a Kenora shorelines, like the dog Musco, he had kind of the personality of Mikak, only he would sort of look kind of a bit like a Newfoundland dog almost. He would be sort of his name means black bear, and he'd sort of be a very shaggy black dog. And I was at a farmer's market in Annapolis, and somebody actually walked through, and it was just the year that Kenora Shorelines had come out, and they walked through with a magnificent Newfoundland dog, and I just let out a yell. I said, "Oh my gosh!" I said, "It's Musco." Well, no, his name is. I said, "But he's Musco." And
Yeah.
they backing away, keep her busy while I dial 911. But no, and I told them that there's a dog in my book that looks. I said, not only looks like that, but he walks the way I see Musco walking. And I think he thinks the way Musco thinks, and surprisingly, that didn't trouble them. They seemed to understand what I was saying. Not everybody there at the market did. There were people sort of backing away, but the dog owners, were quite pleased.
Yes, because they understand.
But yeah,
So your writer life, has it always been, or were you a writer later in life?
I was one of these writers in my mind. Like, I want to be a writer when I grow up. Yeah, okay, that's great, dear. Now go pick the strawberries. And, it was something that I got good marks in writing as a child and through high school. And I liked writing,
Mhm.
but I never seemed to follow through on anything. When I became a teacher, I liked teaching writing very much. And the ministry was sort of perplexed when they came in and they said, where did all this writing on the walls come from? Well, it was kids, but children don't like to write. What program do you use? Program? No, we just write. Do you have a template? Uh, no, we just.
Oh, that is such a Ministry of Education thing to say.
Do you have a template? Yes, here in Ontario, you know what we're speaking, because that's where I taught. And there was, they were perplexed. And one of the kids said, "Aren't we supposed to like writing?" And I said, "Apparently not." Now that you know, are you going to stop? But the thing is, we just seem to all like, I would write stories and put them in it, stuff like that, or if I was writing a play for Christmas, I would write a play, like, kind of around, like, okay, such and such is kind of that personality. Oh, we've gotta have this character in there. She could be
Mhm.
that one. Yeah, like that. I like doing things like that.
Well, and children and adults alike, I think, love to be incorporated into stories.
I think so.
Yeah, it's
It's the most
exciting.
natural thing in the world because we're technically, storytelling people. We all tell stories. We have stories. We are stories.
Exactly.
But that is something when I lived out at 11 Mile Lake, just outside Kejimkujik, I spent many summers there. Um, we had to canoe out, and people said, "Well, you could have brought a computer out there." I said, "Have you ever tried to paddle a canoe with 3 dogs in a shallow lake with a lot of rocks, beavers and loons for them to be jumping over the side continually? You don't put a canoe you just don't bring a
Yeah,
computer."
no, that's
No,
that's a recipe for
no.
disaster right there.
It's according to we didn't have electricity, or the only running water was in the creek. We had to swim across to get to them. That's why we took the canoe, because it was a big bog area. And so we paddled out there and we spent summers, and I just started writing. It was a stormy day. It was a dark and stormy afternoon, and I just started writing, and I was going to write a story about a haunted farm. And, about the idea of this elderly lady lives there and she's driven mad by the spirits in the past that are haunting it. And then I began to realize, no, that's not that's not what it's about at all. It is about that place and how it haunts maybe how it haunts me. So I
Wow.
introduced a whole set of fictional characters, although not everybody agrees with me on that. They are fictional. The Hardys are nicer than those that claim that they were being maligned. And I said, the
Mhm.
Hardys are so much nicer than that branch of the family. Why? Why couldn't you be happy? But I found myself immersed in a story that had to do a lot with homecoming, a lot to do with coming to terms with family, with relationships, with your place in the world, surrounded by dogs. Rachel out on the lake has 3 dogs, modeled, of course, on my 3 dogs of
Mhm.
and Julie has Musco, who is basically her spiritual guide, her Mikak. Although Mikak would not look anything like Musco, that same function in life is there. The one that kind of steers you, guides you.
They
It's an
share
example.
that similar soul in a sense.
Yes, share the similar soul. Oh, good. Can I put that in a book?
Yeah,
I bet
definitely.
you put that in, you've written quite an amazing book.
Thank you.
I haven't
Yeah.
finished it. I've read snippets, but
Oh, thank you. That
that
is so
there and
kind.
that
You're
is
just gonna
that
make me
in.
cry again.
I'm sorry.
No, no,
I
don't.
can
I
say
mean,
mean things about it if it makes you smile. No.
this is
Makes
I'm in such a happy place, and I haven't had tears like this in so long, but just, I feel such a sense of calm, in front of you, and listening to you talk about your stories and your dogs and just how you've experienced so many different things through life, and I know you have a very, wide range of things that you've done in your life. So now you have several novels as well.
I have, I guess, several, yes, because it's more than 3.
I think
Yeah.
that makes several. Yeah, that's a good
It is now
threshold.
several. Before it
Yeah.
was a few, now it's several.
So
And,
as a writer, do you have a specific routine for the day? Like what does your writer life look like?
I don't really have a writer life. Like, when I was out at the cabin, it was a case of you had no obligations. Nobody cares if you mow the lawn, there is no lawn. Nobody cares if you do the dishes because there's nobody there. You will do the dishes, but, because you don't want the
Mhm.
bears coming around and licking the plate.
Yes.
But I would always take time to read, to sit and look at the lake, to paddle in the morning, and then I would write in the afternoon, and I would write till I was exhausted. I would just bury down and just emerge 4 hours later and feeling like I had been cutting brush all day.
Mhm.
But it was a wonderful time, and then come the end of August, I would pack it all in a little bin and paddle down the lake or swim down the lake, leave my canoe in the house and get in the car and go back to Ontario to work again and pick it up again the following summer. And but now, in retirement, when I started writing as an idea, at first I had more time and it was like every afternoon was
Right.
devoted to my writing.
Mhm.
Now I find there are so many projects around. You have your garden to do in the summer, you have your lawns, you have your water fetching, you have all of your
Mhm.
water management today,
Mhm.
and like today, I have a slight sprain in my shoulder. I fell yesterday in the woods and
No.
jarred it pretty badly.
Mhm.
But still, you have like, all of these trails and paths that have to be opened up because if we need the generator,
Right.
you need to be able to get it out of the shed and to a safe place. And you
Life
need
doesn't stop, right? It's
it's like there are so many little obligations, and also I pay to editors and things, and I don't have like people say you have your big teacher's pension, but I worked in the private sector a lot. So I don't really have a pension. I have, bits and snippets of this and that,
Mhm.
and I pay astronomical sums in income tax. So I have to keep working. I
Um,
substitute teach, and I really enjoy teaching. It's a
yeah.
good thing.
Huh.
But like I was teaching grade 2 one day, and the next day I was in with the junior high, and I go, okay, with grade 8, if I start talking in a sing-songy voice, just try to ignore it, okay? Because I'm still in grade 2 mode.
Right.
And but that was, they're pretty forgiving. They've had me before, and they sort of know how to sort of
Yeah.
tolerate me. But so I find I don't get the schedule that I would, but I often will take still my afternoons when I'm home. I set aside everything else and spend some time with the writing. But the thing is, when there's not just the writing, because you have the marketing, the
That's
making
right.
of the ads, the mounting things on Buffer, the answering the correspondence, answering all the bots that are going to put you on lists and make you a star. And I've had another request to have an action movie made out of a canoe or of shorelines. What? You did you actually read this?
Shocked to see that Margaret Atwood has a Substack newsletter, and I wonder, is that real?
It could be, it's possible that it's generated like by her
Mhm.
site. Like I don't
Yes.
know where
Right.
she'd find the time. Today the routine was off,
Right.
but tomorrow I will be spending time. I'm spending less time on social media because I'm finding that I feel badly about that because I've met such incredible people through social
Mhm.
media.
Mhm.
And I want to continue with them, but I am going to kind of limit my footprint to 1 or 2 platforms instead of spreading it because
Hmm. It's not
it
feasible.
it's not why I became like,
Mhm.
to me,
Mhm.
I started writing with a pen and paper out at my cabin, and I was very content, and I didn't have social media unless I paddled down the lake a mile, drove out to the main road, and then drove 15 miles to the tourist bureau where I would be able to check my Facebook. So on my birthday, I would do that.
Mhm.
But once a year.
But it seems like we fall into this pressure of having to, like, when we have these books or novels, we're told we have to get them out in the world, and so
Yeah.
we have to use all these platforms
And
but
ultimately, we as writers are promoting each other, but we rarely get past that.
that's correct. Yes.
And at the same time, I'm so glad I've met all of these people like you and Anne Marie and all these people that we've met online that aren't bots
That
or
aren't
don't
bots and
claim
that
to
you
be
would
one.
have never met otherwise, so
Yeah,
we're thankful, but you're right. I mean, it just
there comes a
becomes
time when it's
consuming,
becoming too
all-consuming.
much the focus and
Mhm.
it's detracting from why I became a writer in the first place. I'd rather right
Mhm.
now concentrate on getting my story out
Mhm. I
and
agree.
and then I can socialize bit by bit with,
Mhm.
like I did tell people when I do go off social media, don't worry, I will continue. my Anne's Journal for Storytellers blog thing. I will keep that up, and that way, we can I'll keep in touch. And there's always email.
There's
Yes.
always email.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Margaret Atwood. But I think that,
Are
when
you suggesting that it wasn't really Margaret Atwood that called me?
you may want to check in on that, I'm not sure, but
I don't know. She seemed pretty. No, I mean, like I
you
have seen
seem
Margaret
very
Atwood in
eager.
person, and this was so unlike Margaret Atwood.
I just think that the social media, those that you do connect with will always be there, no matter
Mhm.
what. We didn't have social media before, and yes, I came from a time when there was no internet, and we wrote letters and notes and cards, and that's how we communicated. And, maybe we just need to tap into that a little bit more. So
Now and then you get these moments of kind of like you said, actual connection through these platforms. Kind of maybe what it was originally intended for, but nowadays it really is just a big marketing pot and that you can just get into and put as much of yourself as you want to into it. But like the odds I find of actually like coming out of it with something, I mean, you are putting yourself out there, and that is, I guess, the one of the best ways to do it nowadays to reach larger audiences. But I don't know, it does kind of feel like a trap sometimes. It feels like if you're doing any kind of endeavor, there's this narrative that you have to be on every platform, you have to do all this. And I guess it does technically increase your chances of like reaching more people, but at what point is that what you're doing it for? Like,
Yeah, it's kind of spooky in a way, but it's almost like I remember when I wasn't very good in computer science, so there was a thing in Fortran we used to call you get hung up in a do loop. If you did not set the parameters, the do loop would run forever. You
Mhm.
didn't set the proper limits on it, and you see the same books like go round and round and round and round, and you think, and like I lift you and you lift me, and it's like this perpetual cycle, but it seems to be spinning in a closed environment, and I'm wondering if how much we're helping each other.
Mhm.
Or maybe that's just the storm speaking, because like I say, like I get some incredible lift from the people that I meet. But in terms of it as a marketing strategy, I don't feel as a life strategy, I'm almost feeling overburdened and overwhelmed. It
Mhm.
doesn't feel like something that my writing character Flo would care for, because she just wouldn't.
I agree, because I'm in that part of the process where you're doing a little bit of everything. The book is done now, and the proofreading is done, and I'm waiting for that day for it to come out widely. But now I'm doing all of the marketing and the this and that, meeting people, and you get to that point. I had a moment today where I was like, oh, I'm tired.
Yeah.
Even though I enjoy it, I actually do enjoy it because it gives me creative freedom. And so I do enjoy it, but I also have a full-time job, and you want to make sure you answer everyone. So I always, always have to come back to that reason why I started this in the first place. And if I lose touch with that, if I ever start getting to the point, I've asked my family, if I get to the point where I'm looking for likes and wondering what my numbers are, that's it. Pull the computer,
Pulling the plug.
take it away.
I'm
Pull the
coming
plug out
over.
of the computer. That's it.
Throwing the phone in the snow.
Well, I think I can really respect what you're saying there. And interestingly enough, during this bell breakdown that we've just been through, it was kind of like, I can't go on social media unless I go and sit in the car and crank up the Wi-Fi on my car and burn all the gas and get on for maybe 5 minutes while the wolves howl in the background and my feet freeze. But it was interesting how when I actually got my Buffer report for the week, like I load things on Buffer because that way you just pop it up and you can put them on all your platforms at once and schedule them and all that.
This is new. We must talk afterwards.
www.buffer.com. Yep. And you can load, maybe like you make one blanket post that you can post on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. And you can't do Substack, apparently.
No, Substack seems to be its own entity.
Yeah, it is nice. I like Substack.
Yes, I agree.
But when I got my Buffer report for the week, I had fewer posts than I've had ever, but I've had more reactions and more likes, and I haven't been on Twitter in a week, and yet I've got more followers now.
Yeah. Isn't that interesting?
How is that? What am I supposed
Yeah.
to do? If I ignore the platform, I'll have more followers. That's good to know. I just find that creepy. But then many of the followers that you pick up don't have a pulse.
That is very true. That's a big thing nowadays. Bots and stuff. It's just
How do you
rampant.
know? How do you know? I guess you don't, right?
Okay, when somebody is telling me, oh, what was it? I received this most incredible, well, like this, they generate AI summaries. You'll start getting any day now summaries of your book, and they will be brilliant. They will be so insightful. You'll think, oh my gosh, they see into it better than I did.
Mm.
And they're just absolutely, and then they're going to put you in all these different lists for a few dollars more. And I find initially some of us would sort of engage with them and ask them, but now, we realize, okay, the more anything you say can and will be used against you, they're learning more about how your mind operates. They can imitate you better. But my best, and hopefully no bots are listening, was my new set of books. Features the character of River. So River faces north, River becomes shadow, and working on River reflects Earth right now. I couldn't remember the title.
Mhm.
But somebody said the sensitive way that I personified landforms, giving them living, breathing characteristics and thoughts. Landforms?
Please
I did
define.
not write a spiritual geography text here, but yeah, that's what they.
Okay.
Mhm. Yeah.
Well, I will certainly look out for that. And I mean, one thing other than me becoming extremely emotional this evening, I think it's because I could see you, working at the cabin and writing and being in nature with the dog. And I long for that. I love
That's
it.
something I don't have though now.
And
Like
I
I
don't
lived
either.
out there.
Yeah. Yeah.
That was a sacred time.
Yes.
Hmm.
And those things, it's like they say in Labrador, you only get one tour on the Goose. You only get one trip to Wasaya. And I've had it, and it was the ultimate. And when my health began to break, that's when I knew I had to. It was getting to be too much. And also it was not good as a weekend experience, like people, I'm going out to my camp for the weekend, and I'm going to it always seems to be you have to work. You can't just go out
Yes.
there and be. You have to go out there. What did you do at your camp? I sat and I wrote a novel. Oh, but how many, did you paint a wall? Did you weave a basket? What did you have to do something. Even if you just, I don't know, hammer nails into wood just for the sake of doing it, you have to do something.
Well, I think you took me back to the memories of my childhood when we used to go up north in an
Yeah.
isolated part of Ontario into these old trappers camps. And this was, I was 10 years old, and I would go with my mother and father, and it took 3 hours to get there. My father had a 1-ton truck, and we'd go on the back road for 2 hours and cross a river and a lake. And
There's
I
a lot of
remember
those
those
old
moments.
roads up there, eh?
Yes, yes, this was quite up there, and those camps were rough. We're talking roughing it. So and I remember every single moment of every single visit that we had there. Those were some of the best times of my life. So I think you brought me back there this evening, and
that comes out in your writing, I think. And that's
Yeah.
not the bot and me talking. I have a pulse. And
my goodness. Wow. Yeah, this I feel like has been a spiritual experience here tonight.
oh,
Thank
Yeah,
you for such a
I could just
beautiful
immediately
conversation.
tell that you are just a very gifted storyteller. I've just been sitting here just listening to you talk, and it's incredible.
well,
So
I
thank
look
you for
that
sharing all
so,
that with
but
us.
my stories, I like stories and I like writing, but I don't really sell. I don't at markets I do,
Right,
like physical
right.
markets I tend to like. Um but I'm not I don't seem to be I don't write books that sell. They're not sort of I don't know.
Well,
I don't think it's because they're not I think they're good stories.
Right.
They're just sort of not commercially
Yeah, and I mean, what's out there
I agree.
commercially
irrational.
right now is just so different,
Yeah.
and it's we need to come back to the root of it. And I think our listeners are going to be um, moved by this discussion because there's a piece.
There is here, and this place, the official name for this is Boreal Dream, this place, because it's my woodland dream. And it fulfills, like, the family wanted me to get a place on the road. I'm on a road. Yep. You can't, it's technically, I
Technically,
can send you photos. It is a road. It
you might
might
not
not be the
recognize it as a
road we
road, but it's a
want.
road.
It's a road.
Yeah.
It's the road not taken. Well, it's become more taken because many people are moving out here because they want to experience the wilderness.
Well, Anne, it's been an absolute pleasure
Thank you.
to chat with you. And gosh, I just feel very calm right now.
Oh,
I
very
can't wait
kind.
to dive into your stories as well. And I hope to see you soon.
Well, thank you.
I hope you'll come back.
Well, I would love to. It's been a real
Wonderful.
pleasure meeting both of you
Wonderful.
and talking your ears off. I'm sorry.
No, we
You have to
enjoyed
No,
every
we
single
love
roll
it.
the call for the,
Yeah. Yeah.
my call center experience. It's the hostess's a host job to take the control.
In fact, I wish we could go on for hours and hours just listening to your stories, but we will leave it there for now. And we will link all of your wonderful stories with the show notes and see if we can get some movement for those novels and get them
Well,
in the hands of the readers that need to read them.
okay.
You enjoy the rest of the week and
Thank you.
the winter. Let's get through the winter and we will talk soon.
Yes. Well,
Thank
thank
you
you.
so
So
much.
lovely chatting with you.